Upper Left Barrel Racing Podcast is brought to you by Washington State Barrel Racing Incentives.
We are here to provide you with unique stories, pertinent information, and all things Northwest Barrel Racing.
WSBRI is supported by Tight Joints Plus. They have been in the process of development for over 20 years, and the ingredients are backed by years of research. Tight Joints Plus is helping support the healthy joint, maintain flexibility, improve the viscosity of the synovial fluid, and alleviate discomfort associated with daily exercise and training. Another one of WSBRI's wonderful sponsors is Evergreen Equine Veterinary Practice. EEV is now offering stud and brood mare programs at a brand new reproduction center located in Sylvania, Washington. They can provide a la carte or a full menu of services in a state-of-the-art facility, a full lab for flushing and preparing embryos for transfer or shipment, a clean, controlled, comfortable environment for stallion collection, fresh and frozen semen storing, shipping and management of equine sperm, and artificial insemination.
We are here with Kathy Grimes. She is a futurity trainer, a vet, an NFR qualifier, and the owner and founder of 9-0 Barrel Horses, a very successful breeding program in Washington State. We're excited to bring her to you on this platform because we could just talk to her for hours about everything she has done and she knows. But we want to focus today on Kathy's breeding program, how it started, what made her want to start such an endeavor, and what has made her successful up to this point. So thank you for being with us, Kathy.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for having me.
Of course. We're so lucky, and everybody listening is so lucky to hear everything that you have to say, because when we were coming up with, we have like so much to talk to you about. We were like, we have to condense it. Like, we're going to be on the phone with her for hours and hours and hours because we just want to pick your brain. So
okay. It's not a lot there, but okay.
Yeah. No one believes that.
So we want to start kind of with the start of your breeding program and how it all kind of launched, because where it is today, from what I know, started with just one or two mares that you really loved. I know you're all about mare power, so tell us a little bit about them and how they formed what it is today.
Well, it's all about the mares for me. That's how it all started, and they have done so much for me. So, and honestly, it was all just an accident. I wish I could say 20 some years ago I had this great foresight, but I didn't. It just all evolved and happened, and I got lucky most of the time. So, I think it started really with my sister had a mare that was really fast. And I had a stallion at the time that wasn't really so fast in barrel race. And I mean, this was after I got out of vet school. So 93, 94 is when I was trying to do some barrel racing with the Washington Barrel Racing Association, get back into that. And so that mare had some arthritis issues and had to be retired. So I bought her from my sister and I bred her to the stallion I had, and I got two foals, and one was a gelding, one was a mare, and the mare was Do It for Bo, which is Mooney, who's been just an incredible producer. And she was a great barrel horse in her own right. I just wasn't a very good trainer back then and didn't know a lot. So maybe she could have been better. But anyway, so it started with her, and then I wanted to get babies out of her when she was doing well as a barrel horse. So I thought, oh, hey, embryo transfer is great. And when I went to vet school, we didn't learn about that. As a matter of fact, we didn't even get to ultrasound mares when I was in veterinary school. So everything I've done has evolved just because I've practiced on my own horses, I guess. And so in 2006, she was 6 years old and wanted to get some babies out of her. So I decided to try the embryo transfer process. And Judge Cash was in the VGBRA stallion auction at that time, just like he is today. But and at that time, Amy Coelho had her great mare that had already been to the NFR skid, and Brenda Mays either made it that year or was 16th or 17th in the world on Jethro. So I thought, hey, that seems like a good one. Or we did. Bill also was instrumental in helping with that. So got the Judge Cash breeding and did the embryo transfer and got the 2 embryos and Freeway's tail. and then that, then I was hooked, of course, on the embryo transfer thing. So that, my mares have just, and then that was Izzy and Jersey. And of course, Izzy's been, amazing. And it's just gone from there. So
what were the registered names of the 2, your sister's mare and your stud? What were they?
Okay, so Jodelito Cielo was the mare's name. I know it's bizarre. No one could ever say that. So Jodelito Cielo, she went back to Azure T or Tay, however you say that. I don't know if that's where all the speed came from. But she ended up having 4 foals with 3 different studs, and all 4 of those horses ran a 17-1 on a standard pattern or faster. And that's kind of where I got the, it reinforced the idea that mare power is key. So the stallion that I had was Bo Scupa's son. He was kind of a little bit more on the cowbred side, I guess. So that's why I also kind of like the idea of cow and run, be a good cross maybe.
So did you see your sister's mare's potential because of those 4 babies, or was it something in her watching her compete that
I think it was because she was so fast. And I thought that would be a good cross with my stud, which was kind of rady, but not super fast. So I thought, again, the cross of speed and turn would maybe be that perfect barrel horse. So
well, and it's proving that today. You saw, way back when, but a lot of people now talk about that. So that kind of gives a little insight into your success right there. I didn't know that. No, we talked about that. Cool.
So you talked about how you kind of started the breeding program, and then I kind of want to know what came first, the chicken or the egg, the embryo transplants or the breeding program. And it seems like the breeding program came, and then you decided to go into, because for those who don't know, Kathy is an embryo transplant specialist. That's what she does for a living. She's got, I don't know how many, Kathy, horses that come to your place to get bred every year, probably 30.
Last year I bred, just overall bred in general, over 110 mares is what I bred. Now those aren't all embryo transfer. I only do probably 20 embryo transfers or whatever a year, but the rest are AIing and whatever else. So that part is busy. So I had the mares, and then I had since lost that stallion. So I didn't have a stallion at the time. I just had the mares, and having mares around, well, that can be challenging too, but a little bit easier than a stallion sometimes. So I just wanted to start breeding my mares to all the great studs that were out there and just keep getting babies that way. So that's what I kind of focused on. And then we got KG Do It for Fame, which is Goose, and he was by Dash to Fame out of Mooney. And so that was in 2010 when I got him. Izzy was born in 2007, so still really didn't know how that Mooney was going to be such a great producer, but thought, hey, well, let's keep this one a stud. And 4 studs later, here I am wondering what the heck. So, but it's all because my mares just kept proving themselves and doing so well that I felt like I needed maybe a stallion out of that mare by another really nice proven stud as well. So that's how I ended up, another one of the mares that Jodelito Cielo had was Josie, winning gold checks, my buckskin mare, who was awesome too in rodeos and big outdoor pens. She was super rady. She was by an all cow bred stud, and then out of Bobby, or Jodelito Cielo, who had a lot of run. And so again, it was just a great cross. And she, that's my Palomino stallion, is out of Josie. By a racehorse. Again, she has a lot of rate and turn and cow, and I always try to breed her to something with a high speed index so that I can get that perfect cross of run and turn.
I think that's kind of what's missing. For me, I have a mare. I know her style. I feel like that's what's missing in the barrel horse industry on the stallion side is we just see pictures of the stallion. We don't often see how they move, how they like to do things naturally. And so I love learning right now what you're talking about how Josie you felt was a more rady horse. obviously still fast, but she
Yes.
has more natural rate in her. And I think if I was a mare owner, which I am, that is becoming more and more important to me now because these horses have to be so automatic to be as bloody fast as the world record was just broken again in Brazil,
Yeah.
right? 16.3. I just can't even, I'm happy to run a 17.3.
I know.
It's just insane. So I feel like it's very unique in that you haven't gone out and just bought a stud and you're standing a stud. You haven't gone out and just bought a mare. You know, generations back, these horses' natural tendencies, what's kind of naturally in them. And because I've been fortunate, I've gotten to ride 3 goose babies now. I have the 3rd one in right now, riding him. He throws a natural balance. They know exactly where their feet are and they know how to stay over the top of their feet. I can't describe it. Never do they want to crossfire, be on the wrong lead. And so I believe that's coming from him because these mares are bred completely different, move different, everything. So I believe that's coming from him.
Mhm.
And that I feel like I'm stacking the odds in my favor, I guess. If I had a mare that tended to crossfire, I felt like was a little bit clumsy, I would say I want a horse that throws a really sure-footed, knows where their feet are type of stallion, I guess, to cross. And so I like learning about that. And I think that's what's missing. And I want to see videos of a stud going around a barrel. Are they front end? Are they hind end? Are they stiffer? Are they really flexible? So that's really cool. And I hope people listening to this get that out of it, because if you have a mare at home with a flaw, you want to pick a stud that's going to help that flaw.
Complement them.
Yeah.
And that helps a mare owner and that helps a stallion owner, because you don't want to breed 2 flaws together.
Right. Yeah.
That's really cool. Sorry to jump in. I know that's not where we're going with this, but I think your breeding program is successful because you know the strengths and weaknesses of your
horses.
mares.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And you do your best,
I mean, and that's I have never chosen my stallions for my mares based on breeding incentives. And there's a lot more now than there used to be. Before there wasn't much choices. I mean, Ruby, for example, was eligible for Future Fortunes, but I didn't even know what that was. And back when we did futurities, VGBRA didn't even have Future Fortunes. I don't believe in it at the time. And so, we're in the Northwest, maybe a little behind everything, whatever you want to say. But now there's so many options, but I choose my stallions based on what I think is going to be a good cross with my mare. And sometimes you don't know, the stallion is in somewhere else, the Midwest, and you're having to choose based on pictures or fortunately I got to see some, like I actually got to see Blazing Jet. I competed against Blazing Jetalina way back and thought he was pretty cool and decided to breed him. And that has ended up being a really great cross on both Do It for Bo and Izzy. And I saw French Streak to Vegas, I competed against him and he was always kicking our rear. So I thought, I'm going to breed him, to Izzy and, things like that. So instead of just the most advertised or
Flashiest
flavor, I mean, there are those for a reason, and those are all good too. But I think sometimes we lose the horsemanship part of choosing and deciding what is best. And I think we could all work on that. And you need to know your mare and then decide from there.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And I keep giving notes to the listeners, but I just we kind of breezed through your introduction, and this breeding advice, if you're thinking about breeding a horse and you're listening to this advice, I mean, this is coming from a lady who has been to the NFR on homegrown horses, she owns a multi-million-dollar breeding program. So if you want one good horse or 50 good horses, this is the advice to follow.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I think too, some of the things that did also make me successful is that I keep riding the same line of horses to some degree. And obviously we fit together. Now, maybe no one could ride behind me. I don't know. But my horses and I fit together well, and I think that's a big part of it too. And it takes years, and nothing is quick. And I think we're also a society where we want overnight success, and that just does not happen. It took
Yeah.
forever to get to the goal that I thought I could never achieve, and finally did. Just, so it just takes a long time. You have to be in it for the long haul too.
Yeah. So are you, what you mean by that is you tend to breed to horses that kind of fit your riding style? Is that what you're saying?
Or your mares throw horses that fit your riding style.
Yes, I think so. I think my mares, I fit with them, so I breed them to the stallions that I think would help improve their flaws or whatever, complement them, and I get some offspring that still works. Now, I mean, it's not all of them are super easy. I'm still like, I have two right now that just make me feel incredibly stupid and frustrated, and so I'm trying to think outside the box, because what I normally do isn't working with them as well. So I'm really, which is good, because that'll just make me a better trainer, but it's frustrating. So
I've noticed, I mean, I don't get on nearly the amount of horses you get on, but I've noticed from when I think back, like when I started Bella's mom, I had to teach her how to control her feet in a turn, and I had to teach her a lot more. And now these babies already know that. So it's more you're working with the mental side of them now than you were the physical of 20 years ago, if that makes
yeah,
any sense.
I think so, because we're breeding barrel racing mamas and barrel racing daddies, and they have barrel racing parents too. So we now have real barrel horses instead of reject race horses or cutters or reiners, I think. So
Exactly.
the breeding is just so much better.
It's true. Like I have two babies out of Bella. One was out of Goose and the other is out of Streak of Fling. Streak of Fling throws nice rope horses as well.
Mhm.
Judy, my Goose baby, she is not afraid of a cow, but I went out to chase one on her and she was like, this is wrong. Like, I do not need to be doing this. And then my building on the Streak of Fling thinks it's the most fun thing ever.
Yeah.
Oh
And,
yeah.
I'm like, they're both
Interesting.
the same mom, but Streak of Flings you see more in the roping pen than you do a Dash to Fame.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just like, I wondered, I'm like, is this the breeding? Is this, they're naturally driven to be more like this than they are like that. Both are very successful in barrels, but yeah, Judy was like, no, this is not my job. Get me out of here.
Yeah. It's like
Yeah.
a cow dog wants to go chase cows, and a Labrador wants to go chase a ball. It's breeding.
Yep.
So
Yeah, no, I agree with that 100%.
So kind of going along on the route of training. So you've had how many babies would you say on your property of your own?
well,
I mean, how many babies do you get a year?
so I used to get like 5 or 6.
Okay.
One year I had 10. That was a lot. And the last couple of years I've had less, because I'm getting older and I can only do so much. And I also always wanted to be able to just sell embryos. Then I would never get attached to the perfect sex, the perfect color, etc. I would just, it's when you do, I mean, for me as a veterinarian, I like to breed horses, so that makes sense. I have nice mares and now having some nice stallions, so I want to do lots of breeding. But pretty soon you have, like 5 or 6 in every age category, and I'm a one-person show. I'm not going to be able to ride them all. I used to think I could keep 2 in each age category. Now I'm to the point where I can't even do that. Maybe 1 in each age category, because I don't have a big enough trailer to haul all of them, or you have to sell them, and that's always hard. So selling the embryo or the egg is a lot easier. Then you don't have to worry about it anymore. So I've been doing that a little bit more with Izzy's embryos, and that's kind of nice. So I just have 2 coming this year, which I'm really excited about, because Mooney is 22 this year, and I had not gotten embryos from her since 2017. And I finally got 2 this year, and by my Palomino stud, and I'm super excited about that. So
Yeah, that should be good, because I would say Mooney was more free runner.
yeah.
And,
Yes.
and Finny being out of Josie, maybe
Kind of that ready.
in
Yeah.
there. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
exciting.
so
I'm excited for you. I think a lot of people are going to hear that and they're going to have hope for their older mares.
Yeah.
24, but like you admitted, it's been hard up to this point. So I guess take that to heart when you listen to this. Is Kathy's got all the tricks right at her disposal, and it still took
Still doesn't work sometimes.
Yeah.
So older mares can be really tough and expensive. And I mean, I'm always happy to try, but I don't like to spend people's money. I mean, nobody wants to just spend money for nothing. But unfortunately, that's what it comes down to sometimes. So yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
So of all of the babies that you've had on your property, what I want to know, how many have you ridden yourself and trained? And aside from breeding, like what kind of trends do you see in the good ones? So like, is it that cross that you were talking about, the mixture of rate and speed? Is it a certain mindset that they have, a maturity level?
I don't know. And the numbers, I'm not sure how many different ones I've ridden of my own per
Probably
se.
over 20, wouldn't you say?
Oh, I would think so over the years. Yeah. And some, I sold as 2 or 3 or 4-year-olds. So I never really got to compete on them. But I think, some of them are just easy. They just get it and it's super easy for them. Of course, I like those best because then I feel really smart and it's really not me. It's just them, but it's easy. And so some of them are just natural at it. And I kind of always have been better at riding the ready horse. I'm better at kicking all the way in there than I am trying to decide, when do we need to start rating? 1, 2 strides back. So for me, riding a ready horse is easier. So I kind of like that style where I have to ask for the speed versus trying to slow it down.
Gotcha. So really the ones that fit your riding style are is the trend that you see that you're most successful, or that the horse is most successful, you guys as a pair are most successful?
Yes.
I think that people will want to hear sort of like your advice as to which horses you pick to go compete on and which horses you choose to keep versus sell, and things like that. So I think people will find that really interesting.
When Kaylee and I were talking about this today, I said, one thing I noticed, no matter who Kathy shows up on, there's a chance she's going to beat you. I mean, it's the truth. I mean, every time every time your horses are 1D horses when you bring them out of the trailer. And so I watch and I try to figure out, like, okay, what's her secret? I'm going to watch. I've noticed you never take the run away from them. Like, I never see you set a horse. And I mean, Caroline, oh my goodness, she loves to run.
She could run a hole through the wind. Yes. Holy cow, she's fast.
I never see you anticipate a bad turn, really. Like, I don't know is that something way back when that Mooney taught you, or is that something you learned young riding with someone? I just am always impressed. You just leave it up to them and you just go with whatever they're giving you that day. And it seems to work out, or in a couple months, that horse has changed a lot based on what you do. And I don't know, like Kaylee said, is that something you can just tell when they're young, or
I think too, when you get after you've been on enough horses, when you get on them, even as 2 or 3, and they have a feel, and you go, oh, I think this is going to fit me really well. And I think that only comes through time of riding different horses. So that's not just something I think you're going to learn from someone else that tells you. I think it's something you have to feel. Yeah. But Mooney was kind of a free runner and run off sometimes. And I really do try to work on bridling my horse up and stopping them and all of that. But when they run, they don't like to be handled. And then I always thought for quite a while, until even recently, that maybe I'm just doing something wrong in my training. And then I talked to Kelly Curran, who I super respect, and she had ridden for someone for a little while, one of mine that I had nothing to do with. I'd sold it as a yearling or something, so I never even rode it. And she said, no, I get what you're saying. They don't really like to be handled, but if you leave them alone, they're fine. They'll get it figured out. So, everybody's seen Izzy blow way off the barrel and still run amazing. Now some of my others don't do that. I've been pretty spoiled, but I just realized though that it is a speed event. And if you're pulling on them, you're slowing them down, or you're inhibiting the way that they're moving. So
Mhm.
with her, it would work to kind of, I mean, over the years, I tried to fix those things, thought that we would be faster if we didn't tour part of the arena, but I don't really know. She just keeps going. And so that's partly their style. And I've tried to adapt to their style versus them adapting to me.
Your horses, from watching over the years, throw a lot of forward motion, a lot of front end pull. They're always moving forward. And I've noticed that. So I think that's why Goose and Bella crossed well, because she's more of a hind end. She likes to pause in her turns, where your
Oh.
horse is really. So I've learned, and now I'm even more, because I really liked that. But you are right. They like to be left alone. Judy taught me that.
Yeah.
I feel you grab that outside rein, we're gonna have trouble. You just
Yeah.
leave me alone.
Yeah, it's interesting. You wouldn't think that maybe that would be something that would be passed on. I don't know.
It absolutely was.
Yeah.
Bella really doesn't care, but Judy cared
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to kind of touch on all of the things that you do, and you talked about how sort of like the barrel breeding world is evolved so much, and so you're really going up against, every single horse that you see on a draw has some sort of French or dash or streak or whatever in their name, and so you're never really running against, like you said. I mean, sometimes they turn out good, but like just a reject reigning cow or racehorse. And so I kind of want to know, I mean, you train your horses, you breed your horses, you go out on the road every year to futurity and rodeo, you are a vet, you have your own, I mean, I said before this, like I was running a little bit late and I was like, we were like, we have to go. She doesn't have enough time. There's not enough hours in the day for all of the things that you do. And you have all of these great horses. And I just want to know, like, do you think everything that you do from dawn to after dusk, is that what it takes to get to where you are and to do what you're doing? Or is that kind of just your path?
Well, I definitely think you have to be able to put in the time. I mean, if you're not riding and training and working 5 days a week on your horse, you're probably, it's going to just, I mean, think about that. If you only ride 5 days a week, that's 20 rides a month. That doesn't seem like very much to get a horse trained. And then those that are easier to train, no problem, and I've had those before, like Ruby. She was so smart and so easy. And I had several horses then trying to ride, and I'd be like, I'll ride you tomorrow. I don't have time today. And that worked out, but some of them that does not work out like that. So
Yeah.
I think that, I mean, I guess I've been lucky that I'm able to turn my veterinary profession into something that works. And I did that over the years. I had a mixed practice before that I had to be there all the time. Then I started taking weekends off to go barrel racing, and then I sold it so that I could focus on my barrel racing. And then, then I decided to do the breeding so that I could accommodate me being home when I was having mares foalings. You need to be there. Wanted to breed my own mares again. And then I'm like, well, I need to start doing this for other people. Make some money to have a little piece of the pie, several pieces of the pie, I guess. So, I don't have children of my own, so I don't have that aspect. People who have a job that they can't leave and can only do it on the weekends, or they have families. I mean, there's a lot of other commitments. And so you have to do what you can in your own time frame. But I do think they require a lot. And then I think you have to go and compete, because you could be, we're always perfect in the practice pen, but it's a totally different thing when you're out there under pressure and that. So
I think that there's just a lot of people and probably listening that they want to, they're like, well, I want to go futurity. And they don't understand really like what it takes. I mean, like Lindsay knows, I have a 5-year-old this year, and he's really cool and everything, but he's never really been anywhere. And I kind of went into this year thinking like, woohoo, I've got a futurity horse. And Lindsay was like, no, you don't. It was like, you're going to be going against girls who have been exhibitioning for a year. And I was like, oh yeah, I didn't really think about that. And I think like a lot of people just don't realize what it takes to get to a certain level of anything, of rodeo, of futurity, of a breeding program, of a vet practice, if that's what they want to do. And so I just think it's important for people to kind of, it takes a lot,
It does.
a lot of hard work and a lot of
I
time.
would never want to discourage. Like I think everyone should try to have a futurity horse once.
Yeah.
I think it's cool.
Yep.
I think you should try to rodeo once. I think you should try it all to see and to experience everything. But the rubies are few and far between.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, my good rodeo horse, he wasn't good until he was 8. It
Yep.
took years of experience. It took maturity. I mean, it was nothing we were doing different from day to day, but it was just his timeline. It took him till he was 8 to really understand, it's their job. It's their job to show up at every arena and give it their all.
Mhm.
And some horses, you have that inside them automatically, and others have to learn that, I think. And
Yes.
Julie's in the process of, her horse doesn't know that yet.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
with stuff like that goes into it too.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it does take a lot of time, and people don't realize, and especially when you go to the rodeo. So like with Josie, she did great at jackpots and this and that, and I wanted to take her to the rodeos, and we were not successful, and I didn't understand. And again, Kelly Curran, so smart and knows all, and she's just like, oh, it's just the ground, they're babies. She's just that she'll get over it. And I was like, I don't know about that. And it just took time. They have to go to a new arena and all the noise and stuff and things that are going on. And then the ground is completely different. The setup is completely different. And if you ever listen to Andre Coelho's podcast on the Money Barrel about how come they have all these 16s in Brazil, is because they run on the same pattern all the time and the ground is pristine. Just like I always excelled at the track and Walla Walla, because we ran there the most. And your horses got very comfortable. You got comfortable. When you had confidence, the horse have confidence. And so I totally, was like, oh, well, duh. Of course that makes sense what Andre had to say about that. So it does take a lot of time. And as my friend Leslie says, cowboy college is super expensive. So no matter what you do, you're going to go, you're going to lose. You're not going to win. Maybe you do, but all the expenses with the price of fuel right now, I mean, it's really tough. But if that's what you want to do, then you go do it.
Yep, you find a way.
Yep. And you just have to put in the time.
WSBRI is also supported by BioStar. They empower dog and horse owners with 100% authentic nutrition and supplements. Their wide range of supplements, treats, and poultices made of real ingredients are formulated with the whole body in mind. They are passionate about the health of your animals as well as the planet and guarantee each of their products. WSBRI is also sponsored by the Bony Pony. Whether you're looking to outfit your horse, yourself, or your farm, come take a look at what they have and meet their friendly staff. They have in stock English and Western apparel, saddles, tack and gifts, as well as home decor, blankets, footwear, and general horse supplies, and lots more.
Yeah.
I want to know, what I consider your breeding business very successful.
Thank you.
I don't know if you personally do. I know because you see the struggles every day. We only see
Yep.
the struggles every day. Was there like a certain point that you got to that all of a sudden you had the attention, you had the business you'd always dreamed of, your horses were going into the hands of the people you always imagined? Was it making the NFR? Like, what does it take, I guess, to the outside world? You know what it takes behind the scenes, but was there one thing that kind of like put your program on the map? It is to us. We see you all the time. We compete against you, but I know now people are reaching out to you wanting Izzy's embryos and requesting, a certain sire and Izzy and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like it was making that NFR, was being on that big stage, or was it starting to happen before then?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, sometimes I still feel like we're in the Northwest and some of our horses don't get the attention that maybe they deserve, because there's so much in the Midwest. So I don't know. I mean, I think that helped, but she had also, done well won things before that. But yeah, I think, for a lot of us, the NFR is the ultimate thing, so for me, I still feel like, well, when it comes to stallions, I feel like it takes a long time for them to get proven, because I thought that perhaps some of the fact that Goose is a half sibling to Izzy, or Phoenix, my younger stallion, is a full sibling to Izzy and has done well as a barrel horse, I thought people would be lining up to breed to him. And honestly, that's not the case. And I guess I don't quite understand what the other breeders or mare owners necessarily want. So I think when you look at, a lot of stallions are in their teens before they get really, really popular, because they have to have the proven offspring out there. So all of my stallions my oldest stallions are coming 12 this year. So they just have 5 and 6 and 7-year-olds out there is all they have. And they're just starting to, get going. And so that takes time. And that's the hard part. That, again, you have to put in this time, you have to wait through it all. And
hear so I recently read an article or something about Frenchman's Guide. He personally didn't do anything, but he was a 7/8 brother to Bozo, who went and did everything. And way back then, before social media and everything, now, it worked. That sibling thing worked, or that blood, whatever relationship worked. And now,
There's so many of them.
I think people are standing full brothers out there. And that's just, I'm just like, how do you see that work? How would a mare owner choose? I guess looking at the information and physically, but that blows my mind. And nowadays, like you said, when I was going to breed Bella for the first time, of course, this was back when Dash to Fame was, he was the end all be all. I couldn't afford Dash to Fame. And I looked at all these babies out of Dash to Fame out there standing. And I was like, wait a minute, if I'm going to choose between all these, I know Kathy's mares, and I know every single one of them out of Mooney is a performer. So if I can't do Dash to Fame, I'm going to do the next best thing, which was Mooney. But now there's full siblings. Imagine 2 gooses. How would I choose?
Right.
I know how I would.
Yeah.
So it's a tough game for stallion owners right now. I don't know.
Yes.
I guess you hope to get that Hello Stella out there. You hope their first foals is a absolute dominator. Yeah, I don't know how. Even me as a mare, that's why I always text you, who are you breeding to? Because I decide it's so hard.
It is hard. There's so many great stallions out there that either are producers or they are also now competing. Great. So it's like, well, but I do often also look back at the stallion, I will then look to his dam before I maybe look to his stallion. Like I had bred to our Mr. Kelly, and he is out of that great mare that has produced J-Lo and so many others. I can't even think of all their names, but she's an amazing dam producer.
Misty's Dash of Fame or something is her name, right?
Yes, Misty's Dash of Fame. Yes. Yeah. Or Dash of Fame. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. She's done really, really well.
Yeah. And he had run like a 17.5 on a standard pattern his futurity year. And so it's like, well, that seems like a no-brainer. But I never saw him run. I never saw his conformation. He comes from a great breeding line as well. So yeah.
And Goose is Goose still down? Goose, by the way, for everybody listening, Goose is KG Do It for Fame. We keep saying Goose, and I realize they probably don't know who that is. He's in Arizona or Texas right now.
Nope, he was in Vegas with my friend Leslie, but he's been home since last April, so he's here.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So Kathy obviously has amazing mares, and she's worked really hard on this mare line, and she believes in them completely, and that's who all her greats are out of. But now she has 4 stallions, all bred really well, and very popular sires to these stallions. So she's kind of got the junior stallions to these very popular. She has a Dash to Fame stallion. She has a Judge Cash stallion. She has a Blazing Jetalina, and then homegrown Finny, who is goes back to your foundation of what started your program. So she has a lot to offer out there, and she's right up here in the Northwest. So if you are considering breeding this year, we highly recommend any of Kathy's studs. As you listen to this point, they all start with a great mare foundation that has just proven themselves over and over and over again. And so I'm all about stacking my odds.
Yeah.
And so when I think of that, I absolutely think of Kathy's studs and what's going to complement my mare the most.
I also think Kathy right now, she's got her two 12-year-old studs, but she's got two younger studs, Phoenix and Tillman. I know their barn names, but I don't have their registered names memorized. But they're probably cheaper right now than they ever will be to breed to, and they're freaking cool. So go to her Facebook and watch her run them, because I'm telling you right now, in a few years, you won't be able to afford them. Right now, you're going to be
well,
on.
the other thing is really they're all pretty well behaved for stallions, because I am hauling 2 studs and 2 mares together.
Mhm.
And I went to Arizona and it went really good. And I never would have dreamed I could haul 2 studs together and all of that. But they just do really well together. So they all also are, good minds, I think they do have a lot to offer, and different bloodlines for any mare that may have something similar. All of mine are also different to some degree, but
so going back to complementing a mare's natural style, what do you think, if you had to kind of give us a quick little blurb about each stallion and their style, that either, I know Finney didn't get to compete himself, but his babies are out there competing now. They seem very user friendly.
I saw that weekend.
Yeah. And, do they seem to throw a style all similar or different, or what have you noticed riding them themselves or maybe their babies?
So, and since my stallions are out of my mares, unfortunately, I don't have very many babies that are by my stallions. And that's what's always hard. People are like, well, what do you think? And I'm like, God, I wish I knew more about it. I don't have very many of their babies because of the way they're all so related. So all I can go off is what they, like Goose was always super rady kind of as when he competed, but yet at the same time, super powerful and, could be fast.
I watched him run a 17.2 on a standard as like a 6-year-old, right?
Yep, I think so. Mm-hmm. Yep, at the track. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I interrupted, but
No, that's okay. Yeah. So but he was definitely pretty turny, and so, I thought was interesting. But then I was told when, I had a free running mare do it for Bo, that Dash to Fame was great. It puts a lot of turn in him. So maybe that did, maybe that happened. And then Finney, I don't really know, other than his dam was super turny and the stallion was all run, and his babies seemed to be just sort of middle of the road, kind of nice and easy. And Phoenix and Tillman, we don't have, Phoenix just has coming yearlings out there now, so we don't know. But he was I felt like he wasn't such a free runner like Izzy is, but yet turns, I don't know,
Yeah.
kind of.
I would say watching the videos, because I've got to watch all 3 and you run all 3 of them. So you can't say they were trained differently. I would say Goose, it has a lot of slide in his hind end. He hunts those barrels, but he's able to keep that hind end in the ground and kind of slide around the turn. To me, Phoenix likes to set his inside hind leg a little bit harder and almost roll back around it. Stay a little straighter in his rib cage and body and everything. And then Tillman, that's the Blazing Catalina.
And Izzy.
He runs a lot more like Izzy to me.
Mm-hmm.
A bit more front end, run around that turn type of stuff.
Yeah, he's more round, and kind of reminds me of Ruby too. But just the Blazing Catalina, I feel like all of them put a lot of rate onto my mares, which were more free running. I felt like that was a really great cross on all of them. So
it doesn't look like rate, like slow down though. It just looks like they really they want to get in there and turn that barrel. It's not a slow down type of rate.
No, he keeps moving, but is able to gather himself up and get around it. Nice. Yeah. It's a fun and pretty easy style, and kind of just have to encourage him to go. He's still figuring out how to run, because we've been training in a 14-second barn. We go to Buckeye where it's 17 seconds, or
I got to see him at 3 and 4. I haven't seen him. Is he 5 this year?
Yeah, he's coming
Yeah,
5.
so I haven't seen him in person. I will soon when I bring Bella to you, but
Floats.
and he's beautiful.
Yeah, he's a
He is very refined, like a very refined face, very beautiful. Like
he's
and
grown
I
a lot in the
he's
last
such a
year. He was
boy.
kind of wimpy before, kind of short and small and
Yeah, he was.
not thick and solid like Goose is just a tank. He's just a
Yeah.
massive horse and I like a 15-hand horse anyway myself. So he's 15-1 and
Tillman is.
yeah,
How
Tillman
tall
is.
is Phoenix?
Phoenix is 15-2 and Goose is really both Goose and Finny are really about 15-2 as well, but they have tended to throw some pretty, bigger foals
Yeah.
with good bone. And
When you stand next to Goose, God, I would have bet he was 16 hands.
Yeah,
And
he's just massive.
Yeah. So anyways, awesome. Well, I think it's important people hear about that sort of stuff when it comes to a stud, because these days it's really hard to make a decision.
It is.
On bloodlines because of ship semen. I mean, you
Yeah.
can get anything anywhere practically. So I like hearing
No
that
limits. Yeah.
and
Mhm.
that means more to me, honestly, these days than bloodlines, because a well-bred stud is kind of a dime a dozen now.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the truth. But so the mares, I think, are what's going to start standing out more to people, or at least they have for me, because
Right.
I am on a 4th generation from my family. And so my mare means a lot to me. And like I said, I'm going to stack the odds in my favor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, so I like hearing all that. That was great. Thank you for
And
sharing all that.
I also think it's important to say, like, our whole goal and what we're doing is to bring more notoriety to the Northwest, and we have more to offer. Like you said earlier, we have more to offer than people realize. I think a lot of people kind of write us off. And I think if you have a mare that you want to breed, there is a very, very low chance, if any chance at all, that Kathy doesn't have something that's going to complement that mare. So I want people to realize that we have everything we need right up here, and you don't need to go down and breed to these Texas studs to get what you want. So we've been kind of covering your breeding program, and it's like I said, when I was writing a lot of these questions, I was thinking, like, what do people want to hear from Kathy? Like, what do they really like? If I were somebody who has never met Kathy before, what would I want to ask her? And so this is kind of a tough one, but to kind of wrap everything all together, if you could give a piece of advice to somebody who wants to do one of the things that you do, being have a breeding program, be successful in rodeo, be a futurity trainer, what is that piece of advice?
Well, I always say, if you really want to do something, you can do it. You just got to figure out how to do it. So you just have to, if you want to do something bad enough, and that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to go down the road. I wanted to go to the NFR on horses I raised and trained, and it took 20 some years to do it, but I did it. So I'm very tired, but it just, you can do it, and you can figure out how to do it. You have kids, well, you do it later, or you just figure it out. So I think you can do anything you want to do.
It has to be passion.
Yeah, it just, you just have to want to do it, and then you have to put in the blood, sweat, and tears to do it. I didn't start out with expensive horses. I've never even actually bought an expensive horse. I've just had to breed them over the years. So that takes longer, but for me, that was the reward, was doing it that way. And I think nowadays, with social media, good and bad, there's so much to learn on training, and I still watch all the videos, especially with my 2 that are giving me troubles, is to try to figure out doing something different. So there's a lot of social media out there with advice, and then I think that you just go and talk to someone that you respect and want to learn how to be like. And I think that most of them would be happy to share their journey. I know I'm fine to tell anyone what I've done. It's certainly not the only way to do it, but so.
My question is, what is your dream for your breeding program? Like, what's driving you to keep, having these studs, and what would you like to see? Would you like to see KGs running at the NFR? Would you, what's your dream for this?
Yes. Oh, what has been, I didn't realize that this would be so rewarding, but seeing some of the people do well on horses that I either, bred and sold, and that they're doing well on them, I really get a lot of enjoyment out of that. And I didn't know that I would. I mean, I like to compete. That's always been my thing, but I really am getting some enjoyment out of that. So yeah, I would love to see my breeding program continue, because as I am getting older, I'm not going to be able to do as much, and so I hope that others will through them.
Yeah, that's great. I
Yeah.
love that.
So, kind of plug yourself for the listeners. So, how can people find you online and learn about your studs and your program? 9-0 barrel horses is what it's called. I don't even think we've said that so far.
Yeah.
9-0 barrel horses. Horses you have for sale. How can people, book you if they want to use you to breed their mare? Stuff like that. Just give us the rundown of how people can find you.
Well, I'm not very techie. So yes, I have a website, but I'm the worst person about giving stuff to the webmaster. So, 9-0 barrel horses on Facebook, as well as, I do have the website 9-0 barrel horses. And
Spelled out correct. NINE-OH. Okay.
yeah. Yeah. And that, you could put up my phone number on there.
No, you'll get lots of phone calls.
There's a will, there's a way. Someone can reach out to us.
Yes, message her on Facebook. Yes. And then tell us about your sponsors.
Oh yeah, my sponsors are, really appreciated, and they're things that I have used for years. It's not just something that I actually, so LMF Feeds, that is just a really great local feed company. Local meaning actually the Northwest, goes from here to about central Montana all the way down to California, Arizona. So their feed works great for our hays that we have in the Northwest, and a total complete feed. And so they're really great. lmffeeds.com. You can check them out, but I've used them for over 20 years, and it really makes my horses look better. Balanced vitamins and minerals. And then Purple Rain Creations, a great local group, mom and daughter, the kennels in Redmond area, I think. They make beautiful tack, and really hardy tack. Like I use it every day, and hardly ever do the pretty crystals fall off. And so they're great people, and a great name, Purple Rain Creations. I had nothing to do with that, but it fits. And then Best Ever Saddle Pads. I've used, I think I won one, Izzy won one at a futurity in 2007. And I've used their pads for years and really like those as well. And Wheatland Bank is a local bank in our side of the state over here, and they do a lot of farming and help farmers and people like that. Country people do the things that they need to do, and I think that's it.
Yeah.
And then my horses.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
9-0 barrel horses.
One of our goals is to make sure that these companies that are sponsoring our sport get recognized, and we don't often see banks sponsoring.
Yeah.
So I think if you live in Kathy's area, which is Medical Lake, Washington, and you're looking for a new bank, you have a young child that wants to open their first barrel racing account, go to the bank and let them know why you're there, because our sport needs positive sponsor barrel racer interaction to keep growing. And if we want to get bigger things up here, we're going to need more sponsors, bigger sponsors, all that. And so as Kathy knows, she has to travel down south. She just got back from Arizona. You can't make that trip 5 or 6 times a year.
Right.
And so have a family and a business and a farm and everything. So, and plus diesel prices, we won't get into any of that, but Lord knows what we're facing. But we wanted to make sure that everybody knows who supports you, because you are a barrel racer. And if we want barrel racing to grow in our area, we have to do a good job of advocating for our sport and for the companies that support our sport. So thank you for taking the time to tell us about them. But I think we got some really great information. So thank you so much. I know you're super
Yeah.
busy.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
All right. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you for listening to the Upper Left Barrel Racing Podcast. Make sure you go check out our website at wsbri.org. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at WA State BRI. And please leave a review on this episode. It helps us out a lot.